humans. This is the whole Corner to Corner podcast. Two humans by the names of Jeff and Paul, the good-looking one, are about to review the HALLAMSHIRE Incident.
Actually, I don't know if I swore his laugh. Do I swore his laugh? I don't know.
I'm sure they're not totally humorless.
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty brutal, aren't they? Whenever the doctors encounter them, they are. They
that's
don't.
true.
Well,
Although I did think,
yeah,
this one dove
this one that you're holding up
into into Ice Warrior lore.
Did it really?
I don't mean LAW. I mean LORE.
Ice Warrior Lore. That's a new series.
You may notice correct font on the cover.
As
Not
opposed to
right.
Wait, I like the diamond logo. Don't diss the diamond logo.
But there's nothing wrong with it. Although it
I know
hasn't
what
got the
you're saying.
diamond on it, but it's got to be era specific.
Exactly, I do agree. But this is why they give you the option, which is a pretty big finish. Who else would do that? Huh?
Yeah, it's very true. And let's be honest, it's sexy.
Why
Sexy
have you got
logo.
the CD anyway? I haven't got the CD.
Did you not order the CD?
I don't know. I actually can't remember now. I definitely got it on download, but I can't remember if I clicked CD, pay the additional £2 and then the additional £6 postage or whatever it was.
I ordered all 12 of them so long ago, and it was like the download bundle or CD bundle. I was like, I'll have that.
I'll have that.
So
mate.
then I can have a nice shelf with extra 13.
You see, I got a package arrived the other day, and I had no idea what it was, and it was the Ninth Doctor audio. The last one I ordered, which was like months ago, and then the CD just suddenly, like, I'd listened to it, and then the CD just turned up like out of the blue. I'd forgotten about it completely.
They're normally, all these 13 ones have turned up. Sometimes, not before the download.
Not before the download, because it would be super fast postage if that was the case.
Yes, but within, a couple of days, So, but yes, we're here to review the HALLAMSHIRE Incident, which is the 7th episode in the 13th Doctor adventures. And just for fun, what do you think I thought of this?
I think you loved it, mate.
Well, I hated it.
You're right. Likely story. Come on, be honest.
It was great.
Don't
really
gaslight our listeners like that. You loved it, didn't you?
Yeah, it was really, really good. And I'd read before that Bamlisha Palmer was back as Sonia Khan in it.
Yeah.
But then had forgotten that in the interim. So when I was listening to it and Sonia popped up, I thought, fantastic, Bav.
Surprise.
Listeners may or may not remember or know, but Bav was one of our very, very first guests on the podcasts, pushing 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah. We've been doing this long.
It has been that long. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to that one, go to the website whoc2c.buzzsprout.com and search for her name, and you will find it. She is joyous and wonderful and uplifting. And I'll leave that episode to be how you find out how I randomly met her.
Oh, thank goodness for that. I thought we were going to get the story again.
Because Paul doesn't want to hear it again.
It's a lovely story, mate. First time, second time, the third, the 50th.
Well, you never know how do listeners listen every week? Or are people listening now who've only listened for 6 months or a year? Yeah. Or,
Is this the first time somebody's listening? Well, how did Jeff meet Bav Palmer? I don't know. I want to know.
Exactly. And we hopefully will have Bav on again soon in the near future to catch up on things. Because as well as her appearance as Sonia here, she's also, it's another Sonia she plays in the 12th Doctor range for Big Finish as well, where she's a sort of audio-only companion. So anyway. In the HALLAMSHIRE Incident, essentially a massive UFO crashes on the outskirts of Sheffield, lots of fire and burning. The police go in to investigate, and the lead gold legend detective, or whatever she's called, Mackenzie.
Menzies.
Detective
Menzies.
Yes, John Menzies.
John Menzies.
is
People of a certain age would get that reference, Jeff.
yeah. Do you get Menzies now? I don't know if you do.
I don't think so.
She gets called in to handle the case and has some experience with extraterrestrial adventures. Paul is looking for something which will, I think, be part of. No, he's failed.
I can't find it. It's in there somewhere. I know what it is. I'm looking for my copy of the Rain Cloud Mount, which is a Colin Baker big finish from years and years ago, because that's one where I remembered Detective Inspector Menzies being part of. And she was in another one as well. I can't remember what the name was, but she was definitely in that. So it was the Sixth Doctor, and I think it was Charlie Pollard.
Was she? Oh, I didn't know it was 60. I thought she was with 8.
She might have been with 8 as well, but I'm sure the Rain Cloud Man is a 60 adventure. You got me thinking about it now.
Have a look.
We'll have to, because I can't lay my hands on it. It's in the pile somewhere.
Yeah, she has experience with extraterrestrials, and it turns out she knew the Doctor, so she calls the Doctor because he owes her a favour, and she's pleasantly surprised to discover the Doctor is now a woman, which is quite amusing and sort of just quickly got on with, which it should be. And we also find 13 and Yaz in a rather brilliant scenario at the beginning where they're hiding up a tree for the T-Rex. And I quite like that sort of joining in the middle of an adventure, a bit like the way Flux opens with, them hanging upside down on the handcuff thing, above the acid lake or whatever it was. So that was quite good fun. And then Yaz gets seconded by Menzies and has to come back to Sheffield to help on this case. And also alongside all of that, Sonia, Yaz's sister, is now sort of followed somewhat in Donna Noble's shoes and is investigating alien sightings and stuff, which then leads her to meet up with Yaz again, which creates some nice drama that we will surely discuss shortly. Have you found out?
Just on the D.I. Menzies theme, I have it in front of me, so it's definitely the Sixth Doctor and Charlie. And it was definitely the Rain Cloud Man, but there was also the Crimes of Thomas Brewster as well. So she was also in that one, and the Avenues of Possibility, which is not one I've heard actually. I don't know if that's a big.
And these are all 60.
I believe so. It just says the Doctor. Let's click on that one. What does that one say? The Avenues of Possibility, which is the Sixth Doctor and Indy Fisher as Charlotte Pollard. Yep, it's a sassy.
Okay.
There you go. You see, I did kind of recognise the her voice rather than the name. So I thought, she has been in it before. And then there's a mention of the Rain Cloud Man. She says it to the Doctor because she's expecting the Doctor to be a man, isn't she?
Yes.
And then it's like, Riaz puts her on the phone and it's like, she's like, oh, her, okay. That's strange, but, the Doctor's the Doctor, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's just sort of,
which is quite fun.
Okay, great, up to speed. Let's go. Yeah. So what did you think of this adventure overall?
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us a little bit more about what you thought than me.
Yeah, so it starts out sort of quite. It's just sort of and I think quite a few of the 13 adventures have done this, where it's been sort of jovial and quite fun, a bit light-hearted. But then there's a sort of
a twist.
Yeah, sort of not darker element to it, but a more dramatic element. So you've got Yaz and 13. In quite an amusing scenario with a T-Rex trying to chase them up a tree and stuff. Cutting between, a UFO crashing, then they get brought into it. And we then discover that it's an Ice Warrior ship and, they go to sort of investigate and the Doctor's saying there should be more bodies and they only find the one, and then there's another one that Yaz and Sonia end up, kind of involved with. And then as it progresses and in that, one of them's been injured and the other one needs to get cold again because, they don't kind of like obviously getting warm. We discovered that the antimatter is the engine or reactor on the
Something
ship
like that.
is gonna go kablooey and cause a hell of a lot of problems.
Some damage.
Yeah. And I thought it was quite interesting that the Ice Warriors were, there's only a couple of them, and it's not like I was sort of expecting it to just go into a bit of a fight with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's an element of that with the one, I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but the one that Yaz ends up dealing with. But it's about the the bomb and trying to get the the help for that.
Yeah.
And I quite liked the way, like I sort of mentioned just now, 13 it kind of talks a bit more about Ice Warrior culture. Certainly I didn't know any of that kind of stuff, and I don't know whether it's been mentioned in the show before or books, but
well, I can tell you all about that, my friend.
Yes, because I quite enjoyed that. And she says we should skip the formalities, and he says, oh yes, that would be be a good idea, and things like that. And they don't like being seen without the armor on, and it's what she say, they're as weird as humans about being seen without their stuff on. So tell us what you know about Ice Warriors.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Jeff, I've never been a massive fan of the Ice Warriors.
Really?
Shock horror. Yeah, it is. I didn't. I mean, the first time I knew the Ice Warriors was reading the Target novelisation when I was a little kid, a wee nipper, a weird, and I did enjoy it. I found it really dull and boring. And when I watched the Ice Warriors eventually on VHS with a few episodes missing, I thought, this is really dull and boring. And then I watched the whole thing with the animation many years later, and I thought it's really still dull and boring. I've watched The Seeds of Death, which is their second story, I think, the second Doctor, and that's a much more interesting story. But nonetheless, on the whole, I found it a little bit dull and boring. And I'm not a fan of the Curse of Peladon. I really, really don't like the Monster of Peladon, where they appear again. Guess why? Because I just find
Is it because it's boring?
Boring. Oh my goodness! Honestly, I mean, visually they look great. They kind of lumber around. They got the masks, they got their sort of armor and everything else. And visually, again, in the modern series, where I've enjoyed those stories more, was it Cold War, which I really liked, which on the in the submarine. Yes, it is. Yeah, and I really liked. What is it? The Empress. One of the Empress of Mars. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one, because that one did also tell us a little bit more about Ice Warrior culture. Suddenly we had an Empress, a female Ice Warrior. Otherwise, they were just kind of monogendered up until that point. I also read Gary Russell's New Adventures novel, which is called Legacy, which really goes into Ice Warrior culture big time. And Gary Russell, to be fair, I think is actually the only writer really who gave us more depth to the Ice Warriors up until that New Adventures novel. I don't think anything, they were just literally lumbering brutes. They were there for a reason. There was a little bit of hints that there had been a caste system with the Ice Lords in their different helmets, a bit sleeker looking. And of course, in the Curse of Peladon, the Monster of Peladon, we had them become allies of the Doctor when we thought they were just going to be enemies. So there is a bit of something there. But as I said, it wasn't until we got to Legacy, the New Adventures novel by Gary Russell, that they really had so much more to them. But even then, I'm not going to lie, I couldn't stop thinking of them as being little more than Klingons from Star Trek. Klingons went through the same sort of thing. When they came back in the Next Generation, we understood more about their culture and their creed and, and their sort of family and their history, their legacy, their future, everything. It was done brilliantly. And it just seemed to me that with Legacy, and I don't want this to sound like I'm disrespecting it, but there were a lot of similarities between the Ice Warrior culture and Klingon culture. So I found it really difficult to kind of distinguish between them. And then I think it was Gary Russell who also wrote Red Dawn, which is I think it's Big Finish's. It's a really early Big Finish story, and it's all about the Ice Warriors. I think it's a Fifth Doctor story, but I could be wrong. And that again goes more into their kind of caste system and their whole setup and everything else. So, but again, I've never found them interesting, because all of that stuff I felt was done better in Star Trek. It just sounds awful, I know, and I'm coming across as a right old crumpet, but so as soon as I knew it was going to be Ice Warriors in this, because I'd seen all the tweets and everything else, but my heart kind of sank a little bit, and something in me died, I feel, when I heard that, because whilst on screen, the visual element makes up for a lack of movement until the new series. But it just kind of gives them a little bit more presence. But in audio, I just don't feel they have any presence. Their voices are difficult to hear, with that speaky, whispering, sibilant tone. But on TV, it doesn't matter because you're looking at them.
Yeah, you see
your
it,
attention. So I wasn't massive on that part of it. So I kind of wish it'd been anything other than Ice Warriors. I also thought that the UFO thing, whilst I like that being in Doctor Who, I don't think there was anything really. I mean, okay, it's set up the whole thing, and you're right. When the way you described it with fires burning and all that, that is kind of cool. And for it to turn out to be an Ice Warrior ship is just a really bit. It's a bit disappointing. Really, I'd prefer it have been something else, but. I love it when Doctor Who writers play with good old B-movie sci-fi tropes. What is more B-movie than a crashed UFO? I love that. I do.
Yeah.
I do love it. I just wish it had been something more. So that part of the story, and then I think that the plot points kind of followed pretty much what you'd expect. The reactor's going to blow, blah, blah, blah. I think there was a nice twist in the relationship between the two Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
So, and the Doctor having understood, she's steeped in the knowledge of Ice Warrior culture. She knows when one of them isn't quite right. And actually, no, it was Sonia who picked up on the fact that one of them might not be telling the whole truth. Yeah. And the Doctor kind of used that to drop a little clue in that gave her the inside info that there's something not quite right here. That the Ice Lord would not just sell his warrior chum up an alleyway. You know what I mean? So I quite enjoyed that mystery to a degree. And then there's a countdown with the nuclear reactor or whatever that's going to explode. I didn't find that massively tense or surprising because how many sci-fi stories have we had that? It's great, it's fun. I get it. But I didn't feel like it added any tension because you just kind of know it's all going to, you know what I mean? It's all going to turn out all right in the end. So I didn't feel it really added a huge amount of tension. And I was a bit confused by the relationship side of things. I liked that. I love the Sonia and Yaz stuff. The fact that she's here again with her sister. And Sonia's like, why didn't you tell me the truth?
Yeah.
Yaz is like, you'd never believe me. Sonia's like, you never gave me the chance. You didn't trust me enough. I loved all of that. I thought that was brilliant. And I love the fact Yaz opening up about her sexuality and how she feels about the Doctor and all of that. But then I couldn't place it in the series. So I thought...
Yeah, I was going to say that confused me slightly. And I did see someone else tweeted about that. And... I sort of thought, because this is all before Flux, and I was thinking, I had two thoughts. She's talking to Sonia, and it's sort of, the first time Yaz is really kind of acknowledging anything, but it's only done to Sonia, and then when Dan later sort of says something in Eve of the Daleks, Yaz is sort of somewhat playing innocent on it. Or she ends up having some sort of memory wipe.
Yeah, so it kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so,
it kind of works if you sort of half close your eyes and don't worry about it, I guess.
A bit of fan wank and, to cover it. So it doesn't particularly bother me.
Apologise for my learned friend.
And what I really liked as well was... there was quite a lot of references to past adventures. Like the Doctor said she'd seen one of these in the Cold War, which was obviously the 11th Doctor adventure. And
Cold War,
and there was a couple of other things that are just completely gone out of my head. That a nuclear thing hitting the planet and causing disaster was a reference to Earthshock.
Oh yeah, Earthshock.
So that was quite nice. There was quite a bit of that, and I really liked the way Sonia and Yaz kind of got to open up like that and talk about why are you not around? Why don't you get in touch and give a bit of drama that it goes deeper into life of a companion. Because on the show we see Rose has disappeared and there's a missing poster for her, but it's not a sort of a hugely sort of discussed thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I've said similar, I think, on the podcast before. You know, the show is about battling aliens essentially, and all that comes with that. It's not about these, you know, really deep, you know, relationships where people are like, "But you've been gone for a year," and you know,
It does crop up, doesn't it?
It does crop up, but it's not the crux of it. So in audio, we get to kind of expand upon that and stuff in a way that feels fitting.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't really want to have an episode of Doctor Who that's an hour long with people sitting around saying, where have you been? Because it's not what you tune in for. But on audio, I really like it.
Okay.
And regarding the Ice Warriors, yeah, I mean, they are sort of lumbering brutes with Lego hands in the old days. But I always really like their design. And I'll be honest, I really like Cold War. And, you know, when he comes out, I like the sort of development that it's a bioorganic, you know, armour around them.
And the armour has its, you know, its own controlled system and what have you, can act as a sort of backup weapon or something.
Yes,
exactly. Things out of its suit. I love all that. And for me, having a big sci-fi head on my shoulders, I would love to see more of that. You know, what happens, you know, when a suit goes rogue or it's infected, you know, can you control an Ice Warrior suit? Can you control an Ice Warrior by hacking its suit? What sort of things would that lead to? What could you do if you were that person?
Yeah, that would be
or something. I think there's a story there to be had, and I'm copywriting it right now.
Yeah, if anyone from Big Finish is listening, he came up with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, you know, maybe I'm not as discerning a listener as I should be, but, you know, B-movie.
You are a very discerning listener. Don't do yourself a disservice.
I enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I suppose if you were to look at it critically, you know, you could say, yes, it was quite sort of a straightforward overall plot. You know, maybe you don't like the Ice Warriors that much, so it doesn't kind of click for you. I like the Ice Warriors, and it's 13 and Yaz, and it's a crashed UFO.
Yeah.
You know, that's good for me.
Yeah.
And
I was looking at some of the tweets and responses that we had, and I thought, oh no, everyone else loves it, and I just wasn't massive on it. You know,
let's go over to those.
Go on then, let's have a look.
Over on X, Giltster says, loved it and its connections to previous eras without being forced. Ice Warriors and Cold War, Adric's death and Charlotte Pollard reference. Plus, I want to see more Sonia. Then Michael Mosen says, nice hearing from the older sister Sonia. Not sure about Yaz saying she loves the Doctor, though. Good story overall. And of course, Mandip and Jodie were brilliant as usual. Oh, and that reminded me, I wanted to particularly talk about largely that, actually, because I thought both.
Go for it.
Well, everyone was great, but I really felt Jodie probably gave her best performance in this one. Out of all her big finishes, because she has that quite sort of dramatic and emotional bit where she's talking about how she's lost everyone and her planet.
Yeah, that was nice.
And you know, just brilliantly delivered. And it shows her kind of just her range and how good she is as her Doctor, from going from, you know, the comical stuff with the T-Rex, and then you know, there's a bit where she has to sort of introduce herself, and she says, "I'm the clever clogs," you know, which is so her. So then, you know, quite a somewhat surprisingly kind of emotional moment for her, you know, and bits like when Yaz said something to her about, or does discussing feelings or something make you uncomfortable, and she says, "Yes, intensely," you know, which is quite fitting for her.
Absolutely.
Well. I thought she was great in this one.
I'd agree with that for sure.
And then over on Blue Sky, the Across the Whoniverse podcast says, maybe our favourite of the run so far. Sonia was a welcome addition to the chaos. And I would agree. I think you know, to be honest, this whole lot has been really good. Would I say this is my favourite? I don't know. I'm gonna have to go.
I don't think it'd be my favourite. I think, but then I don't know. I like it. You know, what was the last one? The tourist one.
Yeah, Aegis.
That was pretty good. Yeah, Aegis. That was it. And the couple before that, and the sort of run up to that storyline. what are they all called?
What was the one?
Ride or Die.
Yeah, that was good too. Yeah,
that was a good one. Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
They've all been, really good. I think, and
Yeah,
very
they're all quite different in tone as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it to sound like I absolutely hate this story. I really didn't. All I'm saying is, hey, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't quite my cup of tea. But I could appreciate a lot in it. I thought the writing was absolutely solid from start to finish. I love Roshana Patel, Patel stuff. I think, there's so, the words just feel natural. You know what I mean? Like in the voices of the actors, that sounds like probably a dick thing to say, but it's like, some dialogue can feel stilted, it can feel forced, and it can feel like the actors are really struggling to make it sound like it's naturally coming from the characters. But this had none of that. It was fast, it was free flowing, it felt truthful, and I thought that was fabulous. And the plot, whilst again it might not have quite ticked all the boxes I love, it still ticked the boxes. It still had all the elements that you need. It still made sense. It was logical. There was no fluff on it. It got right to the point. It sped through the story, introduced the characters brilliantly. Everyone had a purpose. I thought, the story writing, the craft in this was superb. Really, really brilliant, just as I would expect from Roshana. But, it's just the fact the story just wasn't that's literally it. So I wasn't as carried along with it perhaps as I might have been, which unfortunately means my critical senses are probably on edge and open. But it's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, they can't all be, a favourite, and you're not disliking it. It's just, maybe if it was an Ice Warriors, it would have been, different for you.
Maybe.
So yeah, I really liked this one. It was great fun. We've actually got an audio little comment about it from our friend Lee, who's the Future for Everyone over on Blue Sky. So I'll just hit play on this.
Oh, you're doing that? Okay, good stuff.
Jeff, Paul, thank you for the post. It made me listen to this Doctor Who sooner than I would have. The Hallamshire Incident. Absolutely.
Bless him.
And I have to tell you, the previous episode, I wasn't particularly moved by it or connected by it. But this was such a treat. I'm a long-time Big Finish listener. So D.I. Menzies being back was amazing. Having more of Yaz's sister, Sonia, who I thought was younger right away, that was so well done. The Ice Warrior story, very well staged, believable, and fun. And I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little too hopeful, but this is the second story in which they've been mentioning Ryan and multiple times. So I'm hoping it means that Tosin Cole is going to make some sort of a guest appearance. That would make me really happy. I enjoyed the story. I felt emotionally connected to it. And it was really nice to see the Doctor being so thoughtful about what the future of her companion might be. I saw a bit of that with Amy Pond, and I've always thought there should have been a bit more of that. Absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I think Lee liked it. Did you get that impression?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you, Lee. That's a good point. Yeah, the Doctor had arranged Yaz's secondment to come back because she was thinking ahead for her to have a career after her time in the TARDIS, and obviously Yaz says, well, I'm not leaving, but we obviously know what happens down the line. And, does Yaz go back into the police force? Maybe. Does she start some sort of, companion, support group or team or something? We don't know. And there was mention in this as well of UNIT being disbanded and Torchwood and stuff. So, and I was listening to it and I thought, I guess, after Shooty ended, maybe they're sort of saying UNIT's disbanded, but actually, of course, this is set before. Although, no, it's into year 2026, isn't it? The story.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter though, does it? Because the Doctor's in and out of the past and future like anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, well, I guess it depends when the current time on Earth was when Flux happened. I guess because at that point that Torchwood doesn't exist, right? Or has been. Been undermined by the Grand Serpent.
Yeah.
But we don't know when it comes back on. Or do we? Because obviously it's there for the 15th Doctor.
So in
It's
their
big power.
timeline, yeah, exactly. So in their timeline, there's no unit. Oh no, but unit comes back because we have Kate again at the end of Flux, don't we?
Hey, it's another unit dating conundrum.
Yes, forget it. Yeah,
Forget it. Don't think too hard about it. It'll just burn your brains.
yeah, it will. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was good fun.
Yeah, I did.
I'm looking forward to the next one. You didn't like it as much as me, but that's fine.
No, but I still enjoyed it. Kind of, you know, it's always good listening to Jodie and Mandip and all the other guys. And I just love the fact that Big Finish are doing these. You know, it's great. And like with any Big Finish, I'm not going to love all of them.
No,
but I'll always
treasure
listening to them.
Yeah.
And having the opportunity to listen to them. The fact that people are out there putting these things together. We've got actors performing, and I'm sure they don't get paid as much as they would if they were doing a Hollywood blockbuster or something else, but they clearly, when you listen to the extras, they clearly love doing it so much. They're so highly praised of Big Finish and what they do. And as Doctor Who fans, it's great because it's another way to enjoy our favourite series with the people who are in the show.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
A bunch of stories. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. It's always great whether the story is the best one ever or not. Just the fact that we're getting it, particularly with the show being off at the moment as well.
Exactly that, Jeff.
I'm unsurprisingly looking forward to the next one, which is the greatest train robbery.
Didn't they? Was there a trailer for that?
I haven't heard a trailer, but I've read a sort of synopsis for it.
Or something.
Yeah, so look out for that one, and we'll be back to review that one in a couple of weeks. So by the time this episode of the podcast goes out, we'll have had Chris Chibnall interview, where we were largely talking about his book, The Parkwood Murders. So if you haven't had a listen to that episode, go back to last week and check it out. Some Who talk in there as well, and loads of other things as well. So it was great chatting to him again. We'll be back on Who Corner to Corner again very soon. So
very soon.
See you then.
Till next time. Bye for now.
TTFN.
That does sound rude when you say that.